So again, thank you so much for joining us today to learn more about our MBA programs. My name is Yelena Page, and I'm the Associate Director of Admissions here at Boston College Carroll School of Management. I primarily work with our MBA programs, so full-time and part-time. Joining me today, I have a full-time second-year MBA student on this call. So Olivia, I'm just going to ask you to introduce yourself, if you don't mind, just telling us a little bit about your educational, professional background, what brought you to Boston College, and what have you been doing this summer between year one and year two?
Yeah, absolutely. Hi, everyone. As Elena said, I am Olivia. I am a current second year full-time MBA candidate at the Boston College Carroll School of Management. I am originally from the Chicagoland area, so if you're from the Midwest, feel free to reach out. Would love to chat about what it's like moving here. Um, I worked in executive search and also social media management at a literacy nonprofit for about 3 or 4 years after graduating from undergrad in 2020 and realized I wasn't as interested in that path as I originally thought I would be. And so started to look at my options. And the data analytics focus at Boston College really drew me to the program. And a couple of years ago, I was doing what you all are now, which is, going to these information sessions, looking at different schools, trying to find the best fit. So please reach out if you have any questions or just want to chat. And I am currently in my second year at the program. This past summer, I worked at Henkel, which is a CPG company in Connecticut, on their consumer insights team. And I am currently, in addition to going to school full time in the evenings, I am also working part-time during the day at Shark Ninja as a consumer insights analyst here in the Boston area.
Great. So thank you so much, Olivia. So Olivia mentioned she's from the Midwest. I'm from around the greater Boston area. I would love to know where everyone's joining us from. So if you don't mind just typing that into the chat. Olivia, I'm also going to ask you to monitor the chat if you can. If you have any student-centric questions, feel free to answer them in there. Anything for admissions, we'll just address at the end. All right. So while everyone's sharing their location, let me tell you a little bit about Boston College. So we are a private Jesuit research institution. We're located in the Chestnut Hill neighborhood of Boston, Newton, and we're the first institution of higher learning to operate in the city of Boston. So Boston proper, not Cambridge. That would be Harvard and MIT. We're in Boston. The school is grounded in the ideas inspired by the Jesuit tradition and urges students to look inward, but always to reach out and to develop minds and talents to the fullest and use them in service to others. So part of your experience here at BC will be that required community service aspect, and we'll talk a little bit more about that later. So again, going back to those Jesuit values, we ask our students to explore the big questions. What difference will I make? How will my knowledge serve others in the community? Couple of fun facts that you may not know about BC. We have this beautiful building that's called Gasson Hall right there. It's one of the most Instagrammable buildings on campus. Every year there's a Red Bandana 5K run that's held in October to honor one of BC alums. His name is Wells Crowther. He passed away on 9/11. So we do have that Red Bandana race, and we also have a Red Bandana football game. We have about 7,000 alumni couples, probably more. So if you want to get married on campus at the St. Ignatius Church, you need to get on the wait list. And BC is also on mile 21 of the Boston Marathon. So on Marathon Monday, classes are canceled and our community goes out on Beacon and ComAv to cheer on the runners. So a couple of fun facts about BC. So let's talk about our MBA program. So we'll give you a bit of an overview. So we have a full-time MBA program and a part-time MBA program. So the similarities of the programs are that they're both broad generalist MBAs. So we do not have concentrations. We don't silo our students into concentrations. The differentiator of BC MBA from some of our competition is this data analytics sequence. So what that means is that there are 3 data analytics core classes that all of our students have to take, so full-time and part-time, as part of their core class experience. Both student populations have access to career development, but how they utilize them can be a little different, and we'll address that later on. Grad Management Association is the umbrella that oversees grad students' social life, clubs, and organizations, and both full-time and part-time students are highly encouraged to join and get involved. And then as a BC student, you have access to BC Alumni Network. BC has this platform that's called Eagle Exchange, and it connects you to BC alums who are interested in connecting with current BC students. So you do have to be a BC student in order to get access to this platform. The differences of the program really are class times, especially for the first year MBA students. So as a full-time student, you would be taking classes during the day. As a part-time student, you take classes in the evening. Program structure, so the way that the classes are delivered also varies during that first year. Part-time students follow a traditional semester model where full-time students will take classes at quarterly pace. The program length varies. Full-time MBA program, it's a set 2-year program where, and it's a cohort-based model where in the part-time program, really depending on your background and how many classes you take per semester, but on average, part-time students will complete it in about 3.5 years, and that's if they take 2 classes each semester. So there's a little bit of flexibility with part-time program and how many classes you take per semester. And then we offer dual degree programs to full-time and part-time population. The only part-time dual degree is the MBA and MS in Finance, where full-time programs offer several dual degrees. There are 2 within the Carroll School of Management, which are Masters of Science in Accounting and MBA, Masters in Finance and MBA, and then we have dual degree programs with other schools on campus, like law school. So there's a JD MBA, School of Social Work, where we have MS in Social Work MBA. So for those dual degrees, if you're interested in any of them, you would have to apply to that other school first, complete your first year with the other school at BC, and then apply for to start your MBA following the next year at the Carroll School of Management. So if you're interested in any of the dual degrees, definitely reach out. We can set up a call or a meeting to chat more about them. All right, so here is the profile for full-time MBA class that started this fall. So that just started late August. We enrolled 77 students. Average GMAT is 605, average GRE is 318, 3.1 is the average GPA. They have about 6 years of average work experience, and about 1/4 of the class are women, and just under 1/4 of a class are international students. So for full-time MBA program, it is a 57 credit program. And as I mentioned, it's a cohort-based model and you're finished in 2 years. So all classes in year 1 are 7 weeks long. So you're essentially taking 4 different classes every 7 weeks. And you can expect to be in midterms or finals every 3 weeks. So Olivia, if you can reflect a little bit on your first year, it probably feels like it was ages ago. Can you talk about how did you manage that fast pace of the program? I'm sure you had to look for internships, interview for internships, along with, studying for midterms and finals every 3 weeks. What is your advice to candidates who are a little scared about this?
I will say it's a lot. I won't beat around the bush. It's a lot of work, and I do think it takes some adjustment. But I think my biggest piece of advice would be to lean on your classmates because they're all going through something similar. You know, many of my classmates were not coming straight from undergrad, so there was a big gap between the last time they were in school and when they're coming back. And I think getting on top of your calendar really early is a great idea. From my memory, the first 3 weeks, we were like, oh my God, there's so much time to do everything. And then midterms hit. And then just for the rest of the year, it just felt like we were constantly taking exams and tests. So I do think it ramps up very quickly. But I do think as long as you are leaning on your support systems, whether that's people on campus or people elsewhere, and then also, talking to your professors if you need an extra day to get some homework done. Like professors are very accommodating and kind. So just being communicative, being on top of your calendar, and leaning on one another for support is what I would say.
So it's doable.
Yes, absolutely, it is doable. In addition to looking for internships and going to classes, I got involved in multiple clubs on campus as well. So you can do this and more. It just depends on, what you're looking to get out of it.
So how did you go about prioritizing your first year deliverables, let's say? I know you had to study for midterms, finals. At the same time, you were probably scheduling interviews, and then you mentioned being involved with other things on campus. How did you go about prioritizing your responsibilities?
Yeah, I think that that's a very individual experience for everyone. Everyone has something that they're going to prioritize. I know some classmates who were most focused on getting an internship, and that was their main priority. I know other classmates who it's really important to them to do super well in school, and so they prioritized studying and doing well in the classroom. And I think that for me, I wanted a mixture of those. I didn't necessarily want to prioritize one or the other. And so I think it was a little bit difficult, but I do think just looking at your calendar and making sure that you're on top of the deliverables. I think if things get out of hand, that's where it becomes an issue. But you're really able, I believe, with your classmates, everyone is trying to do all of this together. And so there's some people who want to be in the same clubs as you. There's some people who are, looking for similar internships as you. And so I would always, work in a study room with my classmates and study together because I felt like that made the studying more fun and more enjoyable and then also went by quicker. So I think that finding other people that are prioritizing what you're prioritizing and collaborating with them is a good way to go about it.
Great. So in the full-time MBA program, we also offer a STEM designated track. So this enables students to gain vital quantitative skills for their post-MBA careers. It also allows international students graduating from the program to apply for that OPT STEM extension. So if you choose to pursue the STEM track, you will have to declare it upon enrollment. So if you're admitted into the program, you'll get your admission letter and you'll have an enrollment deadline. So if you decide to enroll to BC, it will ask you to select which track of the MBA program you would like to pursue. So again, if you want to do the STEM track, you can opt into the STEM track, regular track that just allows you for 12 months of OPT. You will be able to opt into regular track as well. Please bear in mind that you can only opt into one or the other track upon enrollment. So when the deposit is due, you cannot enroll into a regular track and then a few months later decide that you want to do the STEM track. So you won't be able to do it. You will have to decide right there on the enrollment form. Another thing to note, if you pursue the STEM track, your pick of electives will be a little limited. So you will have to take STEM designated electives to maintain that STEM designation throughout your MBA program. So those would be more quantitative classes, whether they're in data analytics, finance, machine learning, or anything else that's available as an elective. All right, so this is what your curriculum will look like for the full-time MBA during that year one. So even before you start your official semester with the 4 core classes, data analytics, marketing, accounting, and MP&O, you will have to complete Intro to Strategic Management workshop with Professor Potts and some professional development programming a week prior to semester starts. So the core curriculum really is designed to get you those basic skill sets that you can build upon either in your internship and then later in your electives. So Olivia, looking at this core curriculum and just reflecting back on your first year of the program, Can you sort of talk a little bit about which classes were useful in your internship or on the projects that you did in your internship?
Yeah, absolutely. And of course, it's going to be individual for everyone depending on what they're going into. But for myself, I found that marketing was very helpful. Consumer insights, depending on the company, can often involve a lot of marketing. And so having a basic knowledge of that, in addition to the experience I had prior to coming back to school, was amazing. And I feel like it really had an impact on the quality of the work that I did this summer. And then also, I would say the data analytics classes in general, I think DA3 was probably the most beneficial because by that point, especially if you've never done any sort of coding or data analytics before, you kind of start to get the hang of it, or at least that was my experience. So by that time, I felt like I had a basic understanding of coding. And even though I didn't do any coding this summer, it was something that I talked about in my interview, and it was something that I know for a fact helped me get the internship that I had this summer because there were quantitative elements that were involved and are involved in my internship now. That I think showing that I had experience in data analytics proved that I could do some of that quant that my bosses were looking for.
Great. And can you just briefly break down each data analytics class for us? What were you learning in each one of them?
Yeah, absolutely. So, in addition to what you see on the screen about model building, management, and data skills, and then in practice, so the first data analytics class focuses on learning R, the coding language. The second one focuses on learning SQL, and then the third focuses on learning Python. So, you are introduced to three different coding languages within your first year. Um, I think if you don't have any experience with coding like I didn't, it can feel a little bit overwhelming at first, but I think the nice thing about being thrown into it is that you kind of have to learn and get more comfortable with the classes. Going from R to SQL and then to Python, I actually feel like the classes get easier as you go along. Maybe that was just my experience, but you are definitely the classes don't build on each other in the way that they might if you were taking like just learning Python and then taking three classes in it. So it's a bit of a you learn one language and then get some exposure to that and then start to learn another, which I think is beneficial because you aren't entirely sure what kind of coding language you might actually need to use in the real world.
Great, thank you for that. And just as a reminder, part-time students also have to take these three DA core classes, and you do not have to take them in sequence, DA1, then DA2, then DA3. Each class, as you mentioned, is a standalone class. And really, if you're in the part-time program, you have that flexibility to take them whenever you can take them. So you don't have to go in order. All right, so this is just a sample list of some of the electives that are available to our students. So again, you noticed on that first year curriculum that you're going to start taking electives in your second semester, so in the spring semester. So we get you through that core class curriculum pretty fast and then allow you to take electives that you may find relevant to your future career aspirations. So for the part-time MBA, this is a brief profile of the class that started with us in the fall. So we enrolled 93 students. 3.4 was the average GPA. They came with about 5 years of average work experience, and about 44% of class are women. Some of the features of our part-time MBA program is that extreme flexibility. So it is still a 57 credit program. However, because you're going at your own pace, you're taking classes at your own pace, you can complete the program in about 3.5 years to about 5 years. So it's very individualized. We offer online classes to our part-time MBA students. For full-time students, your first year will be fully in person. Your second year, you may be able to take a few online classes, but for the most part, you're in person. Our part-time MBA program, for the most part, is offered in person, but we do have online classes available. So you can do about 20 to 30% of your program online. So it goes back to that extreme flexibility of picking classes in person or picking classes online. We offer advanced standing credit to our part-time MBA population. So this is not available to full-time students. It's only available to part-time students. What that means is based off of your previous academic background. So if you studied business administration, finance, management, econ, and you completed your undergraduate degree in about 10 years, you may be eligible to waive up to 15 credits maximum of of your classes. So to qualify for advanced standing, to qualify for a waiver, you have to have taken 2 undergrad classes to be waived out of 1 grad class. So for example, if you studied econ, you took micro and macro, got B or better in both class, and it has to be a solid B. It cannot be a B minus or a C plus. You have to have a solid B in both classes, so solid B or higher. You completed your undergrad in the last 10 years. You can waive 1 grad econ class. For accounting majors, if you took financial accounting and managerial accounting, and again, if you got a B or better in both classes, you may be eligible to waive that grad accounting course. If you studied marketing, if you took 2 marketing classes, got B or better, you may be eligible to waive 1 grad marketing course. And again, this is only available to our part-time students. It is not available to full-time. So again, if you have that relevant major, if you studied a relevant degree in undergrad, you could potentially get some waivers, which will shorten the amount of time that you have to complete the part-time MBA program. It's also a cost-saving method. So as you can see, the core curriculum for part-time and full-time MBA program is the same. So everybody has to take those same 10 core classes, and then you have room to add 9 electives. Let's chat a little bit about the Grad Management Association, what the culture is like at the Carroll School of Management. So the GMA, as we call it for short, is the elected student body of the Grad School of Management, and they represent all grad programs at Carroll. So full-time programs, part-time programs, masters, and PhDs. So as a grad student, at Carroll School of Management, we highly encourage you to get involved with the GMA. They plan different social, networking, and professional events. Also, if you want to get those community service hours completed, there are a few GMA clubs where you can that can help you get those hours in. So this is just a sample of type of events that they're planning. Olivia, I know you're one of the presidents of Grad Women in Business. Can you talk a little bit about the initiatives that GWIB is taking this semester to bring in the community together?
Yeah, absolutely. And I'm also on GMA, so if anybody has any questions about that, feel free to throw those in the chat as well. So for Graduate Women in Business, we actually just had a panel on Monday where we had some speakers come in who are alumni of the BC MBA program and talked about their experiences. Many of them worked in marketing, so kind of a marketing focused event. But we're also partnering with the Finance Club and the Consulting Club so that there are events that have women speakers at them as well this year. And we're also working on a clothing swap/drive that we're hoping to have happen this semester. Really excited about that, a movie night. And then one of our plans for the spring semester is to do a women-owned business walk in the either Brookline or Newton areas. So very excited about those. Again, if you have any questions about GMA or GWIB, let me know. I'm in charge of events for GMA, so lots of stuff going on there as well.
Awesome, thank you. And then back to those community service hours. As an MBA student, you are required to complete 20 hours of community service before you graduate. And again, this is a graduation requirement, so you have to do it. There's no way around it. You have to complete your community service hours by the first of the month that you're graduating. So if you're graduating in May, your community service hours are due by May 1st. Our master students have to complete 10 hours because their program is shorter. Olivia, have you done your community service hours or are you still working on them?
I'm still working on them, but I've done I think about 13 so far. So I'm feeling good, over halfway. And honestly, 20 might feel like a lot your first day, but there are a lot of opportunities to do an hour here, an hour there. There's some events that are longer where they're like 5 or 6 hour events. So getting up to 20 over the course of 2 years is really not that difficult. It just goes back to making sure you schedule that in.
Great. One of the clubs that focuses on community service is Invest in Kids here at Boston College, where, if you get involved with Invest in Kids, you would be helping, I think, middle school children from Brookline with their homework after school. They always need help. So if you are, if you have any experience teaching, if you're a teacher, worked in education, one way to continue that would be through the Invest in Kids Club. Okay, so let's chat about career development. So our career office, we have a small career team. So there are two MBA career advisors and there's one master's career advisor. We also have a recruiting manager who works who works on recruiting different companies for internships and post-graduation employment opportunities for our students. There's an office assistant as well. They are available Monday through Friday, 8 a.m. to 6 p.m. If you need to meet with them before 8 a.m. or after 6 p.m., they'll be more than happy to accommodate you. So right now, our students have access to weekly MBA-focused career newsletter. You can schedule an appointment with your career advisor for one-on-one career advising. Plenty of online career development tools and resource guides, such as that Eagle Exchange platform where you can connect with alums, employer information and networking sessions that happen mostly throughout the fall. So we will host when first-year MBA students are looking for internships. We bring in representatives from different companies for coffee chats, employer information sessions. So that's available typically throughout fall. And then you have access to job postings, interview prep, student groups, resources, campus community. So you can tap into different aspects of career resources as a student on campus. So Olivia, how did you work with your career advisor when you were looking for your internship, either for the summer or now this fall?
So I went into BC with a very different goal than or a different internship in mind than I got. I came into BC looking to do publishing, and data analytics and publishing. So obviously not what I'm doing now. So I just want to give a quick shout out to those of us who are like in a more niche area. I think that people have an understanding that business school is just consultants, people who are going into finance or marketing. And that is a large part of it. And I do think that the career services department is fantastic when you are looking to go into one of those fields. They have a lot of connections, especially in the Boston area, in consulting, in finance, in marketing. There's just a good reputation of BC and BC students in the area and at some specific companies. So I definitely met with my career advisor, especially in the beginning, to talk about how I could get into publishing. And then I also used her and the BC network on LinkedIn, and I reached out to people who were either in publishing or in data analytics to ask them, their opinion on, internships, career advice, that sort of thing. So I would really recommend reaching out to people on LinkedIn as well, obviously in a professional manner, in addition to using the career services in the admissions department or at the Carroll School. But I do think that the career services department is really fantastic at helping you figure out your options and talking through with you what you're really looking to get out of an internship. I will say, generally, if you are looking for something a little bit more niche, don't be afraid to go talk to the career team as well. Like, you never know what they're going to have for you. But also don't be afraid to be the person on LinkedIn reaching out to people and doing kind of that legwork yourself.
Great, thank you. Um, For part-time MBA students, the way that they work with career advisors may be a little different because their focus is not necessarily that internship search. If you're a younger candidate and you just happen to find yourself between jobs and maybe you have that luxury of completing an internship, you can still talk to career advisors through that process and what that's going to look like for you. However, if you're a seasoned professional, you're working, you're getting your MBA, you're really looking to get that next step up in your career. Typically, you'll want to start working with your career advisor a year before you're ready to graduate. A lot of employers will not want to hire you into that MBA role until they know your graduation date. So it's like a year before you graduate might be a really good time to sort of start having that conversation with your career advisor, preparing your resume, LinkedIn profile, and really paying a lot of attention to those customized weekly MBA-focused career newsletters. So it's just a little bit different than the full-time students who are really focusing on internship search during that first year. They will probably start working with their career advisors even before they step foot on campus. So if you have any questions about that, happy to chat a little more. So these are our MBA career outcomes for class that graduated in 2024. Stats for a class that graduated 2025 will be posted on October 30th or 31st. So you can go on our website end of this month to view the statistics for a class that just graduated this year. These are some of the companies that our students have went to work for after graduation. Last year, about 91% of full-time MBA graduating students accepted job offers within 3 to 4 months of graduation. All right, so let's dive into our application process. So these are the deadlines for our full-time MBA program for fall 2026. So our first deadline is coming up next week on October 14th. So if you submit your application by October 14th, you will hear from us by December 3rd. We have 5 rounds, so there's plenty of time. I wouldn't advise rushing to apply. I would advise submitting the best and strongest application whenever you have it ready for any of our rounds. We do ask that international students submit their applications by March 3rd, the latest. Anything after March 3rd can become a little bit tricky, especially with today's climate around student visas and immigration. So be mindful of that. If you can submit by January 20th, ideally that would be great, but the last deadline for internationals would be March 3rd. For our part-time MBA program, we admit for spring. That particular semester starts in January, and we're also admitting for fall 2026. So these are the deadlines for spring and fall of 2026 for part-time MBA program. Again, part-time MBA program, you do have to have a U.S. residency, so you have to be in the United States, you have to be a U.S. citizen, permanent resident, or an H-1B visa. It is primarily an in-person program with up to 20 to 30% of classes available online. If you're an international student, you cannot study in the part-time MBA program unless you have that US residency. These are the application requirements. So when you are getting your application ready, make sure that your resume is updated with your most recent role. There is one essay that we ask you to submit, telling us a little bit about your short-term and long-term career goals and tying the BC MBA experience into it. Please submit all of your academic transcripts. So if you went to a community college and transferred into a 4-year college, we want to see all the grades that you got throughout your entire academic career. So we would ask that you submit all your transcripts. If you completed a master's or PhD, please submit those transcripts as well. GMAT or GRE, we are not fully test optional, so you have to apply to get the GMAT or GRE waived. To qualify for a waiver, we ask that you have at least 2 years of professional work experience. That's typically a requirement for the MBA program. Your bachelor's degree GPA needs to be at least 3.0. And you need to submit this request prior to starting your application. So we would ask you to submit your resume and your transcript in order to be evaluated for a waiver. If you are an international student who studied at a non-US institution, you also have to submit a course-by-course evaluation by a third-party service such as WES, Spantran, ECE, CED, so any of the NACIS accredited agencies. This is a hard requirement. We cannot waive it. So again, if you studied at a non-US institution, anywhere in the world, Mexico, Canada, anywhere in Europe, you have to have that course by course evaluation of your international transcripts. TOEFL and IELTS, international candidates are typically required to submit a language test unless they studied at an institution where the language of instruction is English. So if your institution taught fully in English, you will be waived from submitting a TOEFL or IELTS. We ask for one letter of recommendation. And for the MBA program, we do ask that it's a professional letter of recommendation. So it should come from somebody that you worked with who knows you fairly well. Don't focus on an individual job title. Sometimes we'll see recommendations from presidents, CEOs of the company that read more like HR employment checks, where they just say, this candidate has worked with us from this date to this date. Their performance was satisfactory. That doesn't really tell us anything about your contribution to the company, to the projects. So make sure that the recommender that you're asking to write that letter for you knows you really well. You're welcome to submit up to 3 letters of recommendation, but 1 is required to complete your application. And then interviews by invitation only for the full-time MBA candidates. Part-time MBA candidates, we typically don't interview. We just evaluate you based off of what we have on file. All right, so if you are admitted into one of our MBA programs, you will automatically be considered for any possible merit-based scholarships. So when you receive that admission letter, you will also receive your scholarship award in that letter. So it's not a separate application for a scholarship. We just evaluate you right away. These are the current costs of tuition. So this is for 25-26. We do not have the tuition rates for 26-27 yet. Those typically come out in April. So I would advise you to check our website in April for most up-to-date tuition costs. So we only award merit-based scholarships. We do not award any financial need-based scholarships in our office. You can still apply for federal financial aid, although we're still waiting to hear what's happening with that. So make sure that you follow the news. If you are a US veteran, we are a yellow ribbon school. So what that means for US veterans is that we will typically cover what your yellow ribbon GI Bill does not cover. So make sure that you communicate with us when you apply and share any type of benefits that you're available, so that you have available, so we can figure out on our end how much you need to be covered for.